This week's video is brought to you by the generosity of Captain Matthew Nicholson, Snowtrooper Captain Noah Dingley, Rob's Rules from Everything Star Wars, I'm Just Happy to Be a Stormtrooper Adam Jordan, and the multi-talented Mr. Jamie Costa. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. The Empire thanks you for your support. This is Vader Reviews. We are honored that you would join us for my spoiler review of the third episode of the Kenobi series. Now, if you saw my review for the first two episodes, you'll know I liked them about as much as I like sand. But fittingly enough, episode 3 had some revenge of the Sith, and unless you've been living in a cave on Tatooine, you'll know I was a force to be reckoned with in this episode, proving yet again I am the secret ingredient to make Star Wars projects better. I'm basically like barbecue sauce. If something's bland, I spice it up like Kessel and give it some space pizzazz. I know I may seem a bit biased here, but my presence brought the heat in more ways than one. But we'll talk more about that in a bit. We continue Homeward Bound, Star Wars Edition, as General Ben tries to get my little girl back to Alderaan. After a nice little lesson in the Force, Obi Wan and my Disney princess land on planet Texas, where they wander around a bit, before playing Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Far, Far Away, and are picked up by a rodent of unusual size. Turns out it's all a dirty trick, since the driver is a mole for the Empire, trying to dig up information and undermine our dynamic duo. So the lesson here, kids, is never accept rides from strangers, particularly if they look like Rufus from Kim Possible. Our hapless heroes are stopped at an Imperial checkpoint, and while it was wizard to see a probe droid, things get uncivilized in a hurry, as Kenobi starts blasting everything in sight. But I can't help but wonder, why didn't Ben mind trick the troopers into letting them pass like he did in episode 4? Or at least use his lightsaber if he was gonna kill everyone. It would have been a lot cooler seeing him cut a stormtrooper in half with his saber, instead of Darth Mauling the guy on a futuristic cattle gate. It's almost like the writers forget Obi-Wan is a Jedi, so they force him to solve his problems through natural means. But the Force is what gives a Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us and binds the galaxy together. But anyway, here's where we start cooking with space gas, because my inquisitive minions receive a fragment from one of our probes, and I am informed that Obi-Wan is here. I must face him alone. And all I can say is, now this is pod racing. First off, I'm in a bad mood because of Obi-Wan. And second, this place is covered in sand. And I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. And if you're not frightened by my sorcerer's ways, you will be. You will be. After successfully maintaining my reputation as the world's worst babysitter, I sense something. A presence I've not felt since. And then we meet again at last. Obi-Wan bravely runs away, but after I catch up with the cowardly Kenobi, we have a brief, one-sided duel. You could say a rather dark-sided duel. Who's the pathetic life form now, huh? Sadly, gone is the noble General Kenobi from episode 3. Here he seems more like Obi-Wannabe Kenobi. I know he's depressed, but gee whiz, I'm depressed too. I'm still wizard, he's fighting like Obi Wan Kenobi. Things get heated during the finale, as I give Kenobi a bigger burn than Owen's "like he trained his father" line from the first episode of the series. And as the younglings would say, this part is straight fire, yo. And since Kenobi has been the toast of the town lately, I decided to invite him to a little Texas barbecue and answer the burning question: what does it feel like to be a flaming hot Cheeto? All friends roast each other from time to time, right? You think you're hot stuff, do you, Obi-Wan? Well, how do you like your ribs? Regular or extra crispy? That's what you get for turning me into Char Char Binks in episode 3. And since this is episode 3 of your show, I thought I'd return the favor and light you up like Qui-Gon's funeral. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Now, as much as I enjoyed my Revenge of the Sith, I will say the lack of classic Star Wars themes was a huge misstep. Seeing myself on screen without John Williams' iconic Imperial March was frankly off-putting. And the music from When I Was Burning on Mustafar would have added a deeper layer of tragedy and symbolism to when Kenobi is being pulled through the flames. How they missed this scoring opportunity is beyond me. Again, Leia's theme is never used, and not using the Force theme, while Obi-Wan explains the Force to Liea, was a huge creative mistake. John Williams, like the Force itself, binds the saga together. The lack of these familiar musical threads is sorely felt, and it makes the series feel incomplete. Those issues aside, I will say I enjoyed this episode much more than the first 2. And if the final chapters are as good as this, I may re-edit this down into a single movie, removing the low-speed chases and tightening up the pacing, and finally adding the appropriate John Williams themes to give the piece a more genuine Star Wars feel. Because depending on how this series ends, I feel there is potential buried in the sand. It just needs a little fixing. And I'm good at fixing things. Always have been. But those are my thoughts on it. What did you think? Comment below and let me know. And if you're new to the channel, join the Empire today by subscribing. You do not yet realize your importance. Share these videos, and together we will rule the internet. And always remember, you don't know the power of the dark side.